The shriek of metal grinding against concrete shattered the stillness of 4:53 a.m. Jesse Collins jolted awake, grease-streaked hands still gripping a wrench as he sat up from the dented cot beside his tool bench. He rubbed his eyes, then squinted toward the back of the garage where the faint orange glow of a space heater hummed. There, beneath the faded tarp he draped over his dad's old Harley, was movement. A shape. He stood, heart thudding. "Hello." No answer. Jesse grabbed the crowbar from behind the workbench. "This is private property," he warned, voice gruff but shaking. "Whoever you are, I'm not calling the cops, but you need to leave." The tarp shifted. Then, from under it, came a groggy, broken voice. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." Jesse froze. A woman. Young. Scared. He dropped the crowbar and slowly knelt. "You okay?" The woman sat up, shivering, blonde curls matted to her forehead, lips pale. Her expensive coat was torn at the elbow, the kind rich women wore in movies, not the kind that belonged in his rust-stained garage. She blinked up at him. "I just needed somewhere warm. I didn't think anyone was here." Jesse stared, trying to make sense of it. "You slept here? All night?" "I walked for hours," she whispered. "No phone. No wallet. No one stopped. I saw your garage lights." He could have told her to get out. He'd been broken into before. He didn't have much, just tools, a busted coffee machine, and an '89 Civic on life support. But it was his. But then she coughed. Hard. Without thinking, Jesse pulled off his flannel and wrapped it around her shoulders. "You need food. Come on." She flinched when he helped her up. She was thinner than he realized. "Lighter. Name's Jesse," he offered gently, guiding her to the little break room beside the garage. "You don't have to tell me yours until you're ready." She looked at him, lips trembling. Elena. The way she said it, it wasn't just a name. It was a secret. He microwaved some leftover chili from last night and slid it in front of her with a bottle of water. She devoured it. "You hurt?" he asked. "No." Her voice was stronger now. "Just lost." He didn't push. Instead, he sat across from her, studying the woman with the $4,000 coat and haunted eyes, wondering why someone like her was sleeping on a cold garage floor in a town like Mechanicsville, and why she looked like she was running from something. The sun cracked through the garage windows by the time Elena had finished her second bowl of Jesse's leftover chili. She looked different now, less ghostly, more real, but the worry in her eyes hadn't faded. If anything, it deepened every time her phoneless hand twitched toward a pocket that wasn't there. Jesse wiped his hands on a rag and leaned on the edge of the table. "So," he said, nodding gently, "do I need to call someone for you?" Elena hesitated. Her eyes flicked to the exit, then back to him. "There's no one," she said. He tilted his head. "No one. I mean it," she said firmly, tone sharper than before. "I'm not missing. I don't want the police involved. I just need a day." The words hung heavy between them. "All right," Jesse said after a pause. "You can crash here, just for today. But if someone comes looking, I need to know who you really are." She winced. "Elena Foster." He blinked. Foster. That name wasn't unfamiliar. Jesse had heard it in passing, on the TV in the diner, in headlines when billionaires donated to causes that didn't change much. The Foster family practically owned half of New York real estate. Hotels. Shipping. Tech. "You're not talking about that Foster, are you?" he said cautiously. She stared at her spoon, voice quiet. "I was. Until this week." He didn't press further. Instead, Jesse gave her something rare, what people with money and secrets didn't usually get: silence. No questions. No gawking. Just space. That afternoon, Jesse ran out to the scrapyard. He came back with a new heater and a better mattress for the break room. Elena stayed behind, cleaning the garage like it calmed her nerves. She even lined up his sockets and wiped down the tools. "You don't have to do that," he said when he walked in and saw the place gleaming. "I know," she murmured, "but it helps." That night, they shared instant noodles and laughter. For the first time in days, Elena smiled. And Jesse, who hadn't smiled much in the last year since his mom passed, found himself forgetting the debt collector voicemails on his phone and the rust slowly killing his dreams. Kindness has a strange way of coming full circle. But Jesse didn't know that the next morning, when he woke up alone, Elena would be gone. And in her place, on the table, a handwritten note. a gold bracelet, and the kind of trouble that could swallow a man whole. Jesse stood in the middle of his garage, bare feet cold against the concrete, holding the note like it was burning through his skin. Thank you for your kindness. You saved me more than you know. Elena. That was it. No phone number. No explanation. No clue. He stared at the gold bracelet next. It wasn't some old trinket. It was real. Solid. Heavy. An emerald glinted in the middle of the band, and even Jesse, who couldn't afford anything nicer than rusted chrome, knew it screamed old money. Damn it, he muttered, pacing. Why would she leave this? What the hell is going on? He checked the cameras. Nothing. The garage's old system was mostly there to scare off neighborhood kids, and it hadn't worked in years. His breath fogged as he stepped outside. The street was still asleep. A few dogs barked down the block, and someone was revving a motorcycle way too early, but there was no sign of Elena. Just that note, that bracelet, and a silence that rang louder than any alarm. Jesse spent the rest of the morning replaying everything she'd said. Every glance, every hesitation, that haunted way she'd flinched at the mention of her name. He couldn't shake the feeling she was running from something or someone. And now she was gone. But that wasn't the end of it. Not even close. 2 days later, it began. Jesse was finishing up a carburetor job on a '99 truck when a sleek black SUV pulled up to the garage. The driver didn't get out. Instead, the window rolled down just enough to reveal a sharp-jawed man in a tailored suit with mirrored sunglasses, despite the cloudy sky. You Jesse Collins? The man asked coolly. Depends on who's asking, Jesse replied, his voice steady but his spine tight with instinct. The man pulled out a photo. Elena. Except this time, she wasn't wearing a torn coat or smeared mascara. She was posed. Glamorous. Confident. The background looked like some kind of gala. Red carpets, champagne in hand, diamonds around her neck. Jesse barely recognized her. Have you seen this woman? The man asked flatly. No, Jesse lied. The man stared through him. Are you sure? Last known signal from her phone was pinged half a mile from here. Jesse didn't blink. I said no. The man narrowed his eyes, slipped the photo back in his coat, and tapped twice on his steering wheel. If you do, he said, tone casual but cold, don't be a hero. Then the SUV drove off, tires whispering against wet pavement. Jesse stood there, jaw clenched, watching the taillights disappear. For a minute, he said nothing. Then he walked back inside, pulled out Elena's bracelet from the drawer, and set it under the single flickering light. It suddenly looked like a ticking bomb. That night, Jesse couldn't sleep. He sat at the edge of his cot, scrolling through internet results for Elena Foster, and missing, on a phone with a cracked screen. Most articles were fluff, rumors about a postponed engagement, whispers of scandal, tabloid speculation about drugs or breakdowns. But one thread caught his eye. Elena Foster last seen exiting the gala after an argument with fiancé Brandon Kane, heir to the Kane tech fortune. Jesse leaned forward. Fiancé. There was a blurry photo of them together. Elena, smiling in a silk dress, a man beside her with his hand on her lower back, smiling too broadly. Brandon Kane. Jesse recognized the name. Kane Tech had just been under fire for labor violations in South America. The guy had lawyers, jets, bodyguards, and a reputation for making problems disappear. And now, Jesse realized, he might have one of Kane's problems sleeping on a mattress in his garage just 2 days ago. Only she wasn't there anymore. And something told him, she might not be safe. Not from Brandon. Not from her own family. Not from anyone who lived in Elena Foster's glittering world of billionaires and lies. Jesse knew he should forget her. He should throw that bracelet in a drawer and get back to fixing broken engines and dodging his overdue rent. But he couldn't, because she hadn't just vanished. She trusted him. And Jesse Collins, grease-stained, broke, and barely surviving, wasn't about to let that mean nothing. He just didn't know yet that his kindness had already put him on someone's list. And the next time he saw Elena, she wouldn't be the one needing saving. The next morning, Jesse's world cracked again, but this time, not quietly. At 7:16 a.m., a matte gray helicopter descended on the empty parking lot beside his garage. The windstorm from the blades sent wrenches clattering to the floor and dust spiraling across his open bay. He ran outside, hands shielding his eyes, yelling over the roar, "You can't land here." The door opened. Out stepped a man in his early 50s, suit perfectly pressed, silver hair, not moving an inch despite the blades above. Two more men, armed, quiet, robotic, flanked him immediately. Jesse stepped back. The man didn't introduce himself, didn't smile, just walked straight up to him like he owned the ground Jesse stood on. "You had my daughter here," the man said. "Did she tell you anything?" Jesse's stomach dropped. "Who?" "Elena," the man cut in. "Elena Foster." Jesse stared. "You're her father." The man's tone was icy. "And the only reason I'm talking to you instead of sending someone far less civil is because she left behind something you touched." He held up the gold bracelet in a clear evidence bag. Elena's bracelet, the one she left on Jesse's table. Jesse's jaw tightened. She was cold. Alone. "I gave her food and a place to sleep. That's it." The man studied him. "You think kindness is simple, Mr. Collins? In our world, kindness is dangerous. It creates attachments. It creates leverage. People like you don't belong in it." "I'm not part of your world," Jesse shot back. "And I don't want to be." The father's expression didn't change. "Elena's mother died when she was 10. Since then, I've protected her from threats. Men like Brandon Kane, who hide rot under charm. You think she ran away by accident? You think she just stumbled into your garage?" Jesse felt the twist in his chest. "She chose to disappear," her father continued. "And if she's smart, she'll stay that way. But if you hear from her again, you don't help. You walk away. That's the kindest thing you can do for her." With that, he turned. The guards followed. "But," Jesse stepped forward, "why are you even telling me all this?" The man paused on the steps of the helicopter. Then, without turning, he said, "Because she's already watching you." The rotor spun again. Jesse stood frozen as the helicopter lifted into the fog, vanishing like a phantom above Mechanicsville. That night, Jesse sat in silence. He didn't go to the bar, didn't work on any cars. He stared at the spot where Elena had slept. Was it all some game? Did she use him? No. The way she'd clutched the flannel, the way her voice cracked when she said thank you, that wasn't an act. But now it was clear, whatever she'd run from wasn't just a fight with a boyfriend. It was deeper, deadlier. It was connected to her name, her bloodline, and a level of wealth that didn't just change lives, it erased them. And Jesse? He was a mechanic with oil beneath his nails and overdue bills taped to his fridge. He had no place in her world. And yet, he couldn't stop thinking about her. How scared she'd look when she first woke up. How honest she'd been when she said, "There's no one." How her eyes softened for one night in his messy, broken world. He reached for the old payphone across the street. He didn't have her number, but he had her name. And something told him she needed him more than she was allowed to admit. A week passed. Then 10 days. Jesse didn't see her. Not until he went to the diner 3 towns over to grab coffee and saw the breaking news on the mounted TV. Brandon Kane found dead in private suite. Overdose suspected. But Jesse wasn't looking at Brandon. He was staring at the woman being escorted out the back of the hotel in a trench coat and sunglasses. Elena. Alive. Pale. Surrounded by lawyers. Her lips moved as the camera shouted questions, but Jesse could read them. "I didn't do this." He stood there in the middle of the diner, coffee cooling in his hand, heart pounding. Something terrible had happened. And if Jesse didn't find her first, someone else would. Not to save her, to bury her. Jesse didn't finish the coffee. He left a crumpled 5 on the counter and walked out into the crisp, overcast afternoon, eyes unfocused as his mind raced. Brandon Kane was dead. Elena had been there. And if the footage was right, if the look in her eyes meant anything, then she wasn't a murderer. She was a witness, maybe a scapegoat, or worse, the next name on someone's list. He had one shot to find her, so he did the only thing that made sense. He followed the oil trail. Jesse spent 3 days calling hotels, motels, anywhere between Mechanicsville and Manhattan where someone like Elena might have laid low. Each time he mentioned her name, he was met with silence, suspicion, or a click. It was the 4th day, at a rundown guest house in White Plains, where he caught a break. "She left yesterday," the clerk said. Didn't say much. Looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Jesse's heart kicked. Where was she headed? The man shrugged. Said she was going to finish something. Sounded final. That night, Jesse dreamed of Elena walking through fog, always ahead, always fading, until she disappeared behind a metal gate stamped with a golden emblem. The next morning, Jesse recognized the emblem in the newspaper. Foster Holdings Gala. Tonight. Manhattan. In honor of Brandon Kane. What the hell are you doing, Elena? Jesse muttered. If she was walking into that building, she wasn't doing it by accident. She was walking in a fire. Jesse didn't own a suit, but he knew how to work a valet like a charm. $200 and a wink got him inside the Foster Tower with a temporary badge. The gala shimmered with crystal, silk, and secrets. And then he saw her. Elena stood alone at the far end of the ballroom. Hair pinned, emerald earrings glinting. She was stunning, still cold, unreachable. She turned, and her eyes locked onto his like magnets that never forgot how to pull. For a split second, Jesse saw it. The same girl who'd eaten chili on a folding chair and wiped her mouth with a shop rag. But this wasn't her world, and they both knew it. He moved through the crowd toward her. Elena, he whispered when he reached her side. She froze. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you. Before she could reply, a voice cut through the music like a blade. Elena Foster, a woman said. So glad you could join us. It was Brandon's sister, Miranda Kane, smiling with teeth that didn't reach her eyes. Elena stood straighter. You lied about his overdose. Miranda tilted her head. Did I? Elena's voice dropped. You set him up. Miranda's smile widened. We all protect our family's legacy in our own ways. Jesse took Elena's hand, stepped in front of her. You touch her again, he growled. And I swear. You'll what? Miranda sneered. Go back to your garage. He didn't blink. Gladly. With her. Miranda laughed. You think she's leaving all this for you? I already did. Elena said suddenly, voice shaking, but loud enough for the room to hear. This money, these people, they watched a man die and spun it into PR. Cameras turned. Phones lifted. Elena, Miranda hissed. No, she said. I'm done pretending I'm one of you. Jesse gripped her hand tighter. Let's go. They turned and walked out. No security stopped them, because sometimes the loudest stand you can take is the quiet one. 3 months later, the garage was busier, cleaner. Someone had paid off the back taxes anonymously, and Jesse's tools were no longer held together by duct tape. Elena worked beside him now, not for him, but with him. She wore jeans and a ponytail and smelled like motor oil and lavender soap. She didn't belong in a mansion anymore. She belonged here, under the sky, in a place where things broke, and you fix them with your hands and patience. One evening, as Jesse tightened a bolt under a Camry, she knelt beside him and whispered, Thank you for not asking me to be anyone else. He looked at her, hands still greasy, heart raw. Thank you for not running anymore. Their lips met in the middle of rust and redemption. Because real love doesn't need chandeliers or gala gowns. Just kindness and the courage to stay.